She'll tell us when we're green.
Okay. Well, welcome to the Capital Investment Committee meeting. And we're here on March 26, 2026. I'll have a call to order. Alderman Potts,
Present?
Alderman Baggett,
Present.
Alderman Blanton. Here. And Chair is here. We'll set the agenda. Is there any changes to the agenda, or should we set it as written?
Chair, I move to set the agenda as it is currently presented.
All right, second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, we'll have citizen comments. Any citizens for comments? All right, we'll move on. We'll move on to approval of minutes. Consideration approval of minutes, February 26, 2026, Capital Investment Committee meeting. They have motion.
Move for approval.
Second? Anybody?
Second.
Alderman Potts, how do you vote?
Yes.
Alderman Baggett?
Yes.
Alderman Blanton?
Yes.
And Chair votes yes. Right, moving on to new business. Number 3, consideration of ordinance 2006-03, an ordinance to amend section 15-603 of the municipal code relating to stopping, standing, and parking prohibited locations. Paul Holzen.
So this was actually pointed out by our police department. The way the ordinance reads is it prohibits parking in certain areas, and it specifically mentions four-way stop versus all-way stop. So essentially all we're doing is changing the wording from four-way stop to all-way stop, which then it would apply to three-way stop.
Oh, jeez. Okay.
Motion to approve.
All right, second?
All right, we have a second. Alderman Blanton, how do you vote?
Yes.
Alderman Baggett?
Yes.
Alderman Potts?
Yes.
And Chair votes yes. Item number 4, consideration resolution 2026-17, a resolution authorizing the city administrator to approve agreements and the use of condemnation if necessary to acquire right-of-way and/or easements for the Church Street improvement project.
As you just read, this is the kind of the precursor that we always do resolution to get permission to go ahead and purchase right of way and go to condemnation if absolutely necessary. So this is that resolution for Church Street.
All right. Do you have a motion?
Chair, I move to approve.
Do you have a second?
Second.
Any comments? If not, Alderman Potts, how do you vote?
Yes.
Alderman Baggett?
Yes.
Alderman Blanton?
Yes.
And Chair votes yes. Moving on to item 5. Sorry. Consideration of draft City of Franklin contract 2026-0141, a professional service agreement with Boozer and Company for the Church Street improvement projects not to exceed a cost of $211,500.
In sticking with the Church Street theme for a little while, we are, this is a PSA for the right-of-way appraisal services for any kind of easements needed or right-of-way needed for the Church Street project.
All right. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second?
Any discussion on this? All right. Alderman Potts?
Yes.
Alderman Blanton?
Yes.
Alderman Baggett?
Yes.
And Chair votes yes. Number 6, consideration draft of City of Franklin Contract 2026-0142, a professional service agreement with Johnson and Murin Thompson Incorporated for right-of-way acquisition services for Church Street improvements projects not to exceed $258,300. Jonathan?
Last Church Street item, this is actually for the negotiations piece of that. We hire a consultant to come in and help negotiate that and then meet all the expectations of property owners. So they'll take the right-of-way appraisal, meet with them. If staff's needed, we'll meet with them as well. But this just kind of keeps the process moving forward.
All right.
Move for approval. Second?
All right. Any discussion? All right. Alderman Potts, how do you vote?
Yes.
Alderman Blanton?
Yes.
Alderman Baggett?
Yes.
And Chair votes yes. Moving on to item 7, consideration of Amendment 2 for the City of Franklin Contract 2021-0283 for loose design for the Liberty Park expansion project at a lump sum cost increase of $131,000. Jonathan?
As we were getting closer to the end of the design, and it had been a while since the original, the updated master plan was done with parks. So we revisited it with our parks team. Our park team made a few requests for some things that just made more sense now at the time. I think they're adding pickleball courts, and I think Lisa's here.
Oh, yeah.
Just a few minor changes that need to be made before we bid it. It just made sense to do it
Yeah.
now,
Yeah, and this is all in the...
before we bid.
Move to approve.
Second?
All right. And this is all within scheduled allotment?
Yes.
of the Funding, yeah.
Yes.
Any other comments? Okay. Alderman Potts, how do you vote?
Yes.
Alderman Blanton?
Yes.
Alderman Beggett?
Yes.
And chair votes yes. Moving on to item 8, consideration of contract 2026-0096 with Tennessee Department of Transportation for the State Route 6 East Main Street Bridge over Harpeth for an estimated amount of $927,900. Paul?
So it's been a while since we've talked about this project, but TDOT's planning on moving forward with a bridge replacement this summer.
Yeah.
They're going to maintain 2 lanes of traffic. However, the board approved us to request enhancements on that existing bridge. And TDOT's expectation is that we pay for any of those enhancements. Those enhancements are essentially decorative streetlights. We asked for wider sidewalks for pedestrian traffic in our downtown. And we asked for a pedestrian separator so that there's essentially a physical barrier between the pedestrians and the moving vehicles. And we asked for a decorative railing on the outside of it.
Okay,
So
okay.
TDOT was agreeable to do it all. However, this is the contract coming very, very late in the game, but we're moving forward with it since we finally got it from TDOT.
Do you have a motion?
Yes, I move to approve, Chair.
Second.
All right, any discussion on this?
Yes.
Alderman Beggett, Vice Mayor Beggett, sorry.
The streetlights. How are we? I know you mentioned something.
Yeah.
They wanted X amount, and
So I know what the design is, and it's probably too many streetlights right now, similar to Franklin Road. They would not remove them at this point because it has to meet their lighting standards. However, I am 99% confident I can get them removed during construction. So their construction crews are very different, and they're typically happy to remove them. So
do you think that will they be the same kind of lights that are at Bicentennial?
As far as the color, yes. I mean, we're going to match the color and everything of Franklin Road. It would look really strange to have 4 lights that don't match.
Yeah.
So that was our plan to match that.
Well,
But the look and aesthetics will match everything on Franklin Road. And since they're sitting up on a parapet wall, they're actually shorter lights, but the height will look the same.
you know,
They're out
and
there.
I'm expanding the scope of this a little bit, but I actually literally just got off the phone with a Franklin Road resident who's calling me again about the blankets hanging in her windows from the street lights on Franklin Road that I think everybody would agree are probably too much, too bright. And you would as well, I would think.
Yeah, I do.
At this point. And yeah, you just hate to kind of continue on with what no one likes, even though it does meet the street standards. Can we put the caps on these? Can we put the caps on the ones that exist today?
The shields,
The
we
cap-
already have the shields in the back.
shields in there, but like the caps, I think would keep it down too, or, push the light down. Is that something that could?
Good. I thought we had
So,
everything.
any of those things are up for changing, because I mean, you're going to have like a year or 2 or whatever they're going to take to actually build the bridge. That'll be one of the final things they do. So we can get involved there and ask for a decorative cap or something to let slide out.
I'd like to do, if we're going to do that on that, that was actually one of the requests that this resident was asking if she could get the neighbors to rally around changing the existing, but if we're going to set that, maybe the caps are the standard, possibly on this, that maybe we could retrofit the other ones that are on.
You really can't retrofit them, so it's the cap's actually built into the top of the globe. So you just take the whole globe top of the very top away, and you're replacing the whole thing.
The whole globe.
Yes.
Well, that might be better than all the blankets in the windows. Well, it would put the light down on the street instead of.
Oh,
That's
Right
one
now
of the
it's-
downfalls with the decorative style light. It throws light everywhere.
But the cap would.
It will contain some of the upglow.
Okay. Is there a way you could test? Could we get or do we have a glow? Or is there a way we could order a single glow?
We don't have one, but yeah, we have a good relationship with that vendor, with
Have 'em-
Haldane, and that's something they've worked with us before to just like get a sample and have a sample installed somewhere.
Good.
And what you're seeing out there right now, just to kind of give a little background, is that was designed many years ago, and it was a metal halide. It's a technology of light, but the metal halides give off that kind of bluish tint, and that's pretty much what was in downtown for many years on the newer streetscape project was a metal halide style light. LED wasn't a big thing then. We switched that one over to LED because it was far enough along to go to LED, but to make it kind of match like what's on 3rd Avenue North, in color-wise, color temperature, we stuck with what's called a 4,000 Kelvin. So 3,000 Kelvin kind of gives you a warmer light. So if you look at the roundabout at McEwen that we recently did, the lighting upgrades, the lighter, warmer light is a different
Yeah.
color temperature.
Better.
So we did it to match everything else. It's just that 4,000 is kind of, it just kind of in your face.
I think, and listen, this is a bit of a rabbit hole, I get it, but she just called and here we are. So I think, this is one of those things where if you've got a really ugly color fuchsia painted around in the house, at some
match
point,
it.
you match it until, you match it until you're just like, this is ugly.
Yeah.
Like, and we need to come up with a plan to remove the ugly. I don't know. I mean, I think that,
And so changing the color temperature of the existing lights that are out there, again, you're replacing the whole head. So the pole can stay, all that can stay, but the whole head gets replaced. On the new ones, you can do like a 3,000 Kelvin. We can work with TDOT to do a 3,000 Kelvin. You'll just have a color change right there at the bridge. So
think-
it'll kind of look like what McEwen does today out there at the roundabout.
at some point would like to see what it would look like if we're not going to be able to. I get a lot of comments on that, and I could get all the neighbors in the area to
Sign a petition.
and I will. And I'm honestly, I don't know what my options are for them to come and speak out for what they want. And I think Alderman would agree, and I think that. But let's talk offline. But on
Okay.
this, I would say, hopefully we can try to move forward to maybe the timing works out right, where we have a solution for the rest of Franklin Road, and that can match what we're doing on the
And
bridge.
your ultimate solution really is just replace the heads, which is
The
not a
heads.
huge undertaking. It's some expense to it,
Yeah, there's
obviously, but not a huge
expense,
undertaking.
but I think it's an entryway in.
Yes.
And a lot of people comment like this just doesn't feel like Franklin coming into town because it feels like we're at Walmart at the parking lot, and in those historic homes and all the rest, like you're lit up like it's you're in a like this right here at night, and
Listen to hide our face and wrinkles.
yeah.
If,
So that's all I
You good?
have
Okay,
about the bridge.
could you find out pricing, what each of those would cost?
So the heads themselves, you're probably looking at about $2,000 a head, just cost of the material. And then and I'm just kind of spitballing here, but based on other project costs, then to install them, probably another $500 to $1,000 a piece, because you got to have a bucket truck out there to install each one of those. But they could do several a day.
Could we do those ourselves?
That Jerry, the man's here. We do have the staff that can do this because ultimately we maintain those. So I know that if there was like one knockdown, we do those kind of things. So our crews are capable. It would just be them scheduling it.
I was gonna
Did I that
say,
right?
if we could do our cruise, I think it would be less expensive if we
Yeah,
would do it
material
in-house.
not so much, but the rest of it,
Yeah,
yes.
materials.
Yeah, that's one of those things where
And
I know you don't want to go back but those residents, and that might be what I need to get them to rally behind because it is affecting them. I mean, they've said it for years, and we haven't really brought them anything. I mean, we've kind of tossed around the possibilities, and I appreciate the research you've done on this. I know you have. We've
take
talked
this.
about it, but I think that might be something. Maybe we can phase in or work in over time. And those lights, by the way, would be great in parks,
Yeah,
right,
could we
that are there
re-
now.
Could we reuse those?
right?
Trade them out.
Well, and
Could
I'll
we
tell you, our
reuse
new
them?
standard in the city is to do 3,000 Kelvin, the warmer light anyway. It's just we have that kind of switch over where we've got different color temperatures in different places.
So
So-
if we took those off, couldn't we
You
use
can
them
still,
elsewhere?
they're reasonable
We're not
lights.
gonna throw them
you
away.
could either reuse them somewhere in the city, or you could surplus them and sell them, and someone else could
Okay.
use them.
So we could do,
And what we need replacements across the city where it's more appropriate. I think my fuchsia paint analogy was like if we're in this cycle where it's always going to be the same color in downtown because we don't want to not match,
Yeah.
then we're always going to have this.
Correct.
And having at least a phasing plan or some kind of strategy to not continue to paint the walls.
Right. And there are some other options, whether if you're not replacing the whole casing of the light, you can replace the internals of the light if you don't have to have the cap on. So there's other options that are
Yeah.
out there. I just want to.
And if people are wondering what the difference is, just drive by the Bicentennial Park where those new ones were
Yeah, those
put
are
in.
3,000 Kelvin.
And the difference between those and Franklin Road,
Yeah.
I think you'll see what we're talking about. And again, is this our top priority as a city? Probably not, but I do know it is for the residents on that street who would prefer to not feel like they're sleeping in the daytime.
Short answer is there are options.
Good. Okay. Thank you.
okay, all right. We didn't take a vote on that, did we?
No, we
Not
didn't.
yet.
It's been long.
Yeah.
We do have a first and a second, so how do we vote on this, Alderman Potts?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Beckett?
Yes.
Alderman Blanton?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. Okay. Moving on to 9. All right, where is 9? There it is. Consideration of draft City of Franklin contract 2026-0123 with a professional services agreement with Johnson and Muran, I guess it is, Thompson Inc. for the right-of-way acquisition services for the Old Paintville Road and Long Lane Bridge and Connector, not to exceed cost of $118,750.
This is similar to the Church Street
So the same thing.
PSA. It's the same thing. So this is to acquire the actual negotiation services for us on the overpass.
Okay. I have a motion.
I move to approve.
Need a second.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Alderman Potts?
Yes.
Alderman Beckett?
Yes.
Alderman Blanton?
Yes.
The chair votes yes. All right, number 10. Let's see. Consideration of draft change order 1 of City of Franklin contract 2023-0377 with Stanzel Electric Company for Franklin IT expansion, City of Franklin contract, and TDOT for a cost decrease of $25,214.
As it says, this is simply just a close out of that construction contract.
Oh, okay.
Perfect.
So, all right. Need a motion?
Chair, I move to approve.
Second.
All right. All in favor? Alderman Potts?
Yes.
Alderman Beckett?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Beckett, sorry. Alderman Blanton?
Yes.
And chair votes yes. Let's see if I can get this up here. It keeps jumping off my plate. Number 11, consideration of amendment 1, City of Franklin contract 2024-0050. So I think it keeps going off my page. I'm going to read it from here. With the Cardino, group for additional construction oversight inspection services for the Bransford complex, increasing the contract cost by not to exceed amount of $740,000 and $80.
So
What
this
is
is for the Pearl Park, where it's currently under construction. This is for additional, essentially CE&I services. We originally came to you about a year ago with a supplement for our own staff that's out there, for them to have some additional hands that are out there, and that's what the original contract for was with the Cordino Group, and they've been out there on a daily basis watching things occur while our staff moves from project to project. We've got McEwen going on, we've got several other projects. That has been more difficult out there than we originally suspected, so we have asked the CEI to give us this proposal to spend additional time and also have additional personnel available, including survey, because the grading has not gone exactly like we would have liked it, as smoothly as we'd liked. We've never worked with this contractor. They had never worked with us. This just gives us additional oversight out there. And I did write in the memo that this, even with the change, while it's a large number, still only amounts to like 3.75%, something like that, of the total estimated construction budget. So you're still very low on what the CEI scale would be, which is like on a large roadway job, CEI cost would be, you didn't expect anywhere from probably 5, really higher than that, probably 7.5% to 12.5% of construction cost to be inspection services. So we're still well below that.
Do I have a motion?
Chair, I'll move to approve with follow-up question in a moment.
All right.
Second.
All right. Yeah, I have a question on that too. Alderman Potts.
Thank you.
Go first.
So,
I'll go last.
Jonathan, this sounds good, and I appreciate the pivot here. I know that we had a previous issue with the other vendor and getting the work done. Do we have an anticipation, any anticipation in decreasing the construction timeline by adding this, or is this going to help us so that we're not going beyond that date?
This will hopefully help us, so we're not going to go beyond that, and we still get a good product in the end.
Okay.
And the prime contractor is making changes to their forces as well on their subcontractors to get some better help out there.
Okay.
This keeps eyes on the prize and eyes on the site on a more consistent basis, which just needs a little more hand-holding.
Okay. And is this only covering FTEs that are going to be there on site Monday through Friday, or will this also cover any work that's being done on the weekends?
This is it's hourly, so it'll be billed as we need it. So if we don't need all of that, it'll come back to us.
Okay.
So what we'll use with the time that we have, there'll be a lot right now while there's earthwork going on, because it's a pretty major earthwork site. So as it moves on into buildings, and our staff can handle that more.
Okay. Thank you.
Also,
Yeah, go ahead, I'll wait.
so
I think you all need to talk.
I know there is, what's the current budget for inspection services?
I had it in here, I thought.
Question.
I don't want to give you the wrong number. The original number was just under $1 million, called $1 million.
And this is on top of it?
Yes, this is on top of that.
So I guess, and I'm not opposed to this, I'm just trying to understand, like, if this was a private job, what would you hire a general contractor,
Yeah.
and they're responsible for making sure that the job is done to plan. And then you might have some inspection. The city, though, would be providing all the inspection of the final product if it was private. I guess I'm wondering, like, what is the general contract?
They're
Shouldn't the
literally
general-
just to manage and build the job. And we're ensuring that it gets built the way we want it.
To the plan.
It is, but there has to be someone who ensures that happens.
Oh,
But
don't we
the-
already have that?
And I guess what I'm wondering is $1.7 million
Yeah.
to check the checkers. I mean, I'm not saying, look, if y'all think we need this, it just seems like a,
Well, and to be clear, this is not to check the checkers. This is just to check the contractor. This is it. That's all it's, so it's not coming behind us. It's additional fill-in help that we don't have the manpower to do, nor does it make sense for us to staff up to the level that we would need for this.
so if we just did our regular inspections like we do as a city and checked the final work of a private job and we found that it was incorrect, we would make the private contractor do it again, get it right.
It sounds, so the short answer is yes, but it's a whole lot longer and a whole lot more involved than that.
Understood, and there's costs associated with that when we, just like on the private side. So what we're doing though is asking, is the general contract, I mean, I feel like this is kind of a cost that they should
Yeah.
also share in. I mean, if
General
we're,
contractor, right or wrong, has 2 people on site that are in the office all day. Nobody's checking on their subs. If you look at McEwen, it's run the same way. We're spending about $4+ million to make sure we're getting the product
Yeah.
that we need to get. And I would say I don't know what we're spending on City Hall because I'm not totally involved, but I certainly hope we have somebody out there all day, every day, looking at means and methods, making sure they're following the plans and specs. It is very common. There is no way that I would allow a contractor to do a job of this size and not have a full-time inspector. It's a little bit different when it's private because you got a bond and you're just never going to release some other bonds
until they get it right.
until they get it right, and we're doing after the fact inspections, and even then we still run into lots of problems. And so there's quantities as well they're checking to make sure there's no way around it. I think the big reason you're seeing an increase is we're somewhat removing our staff from the project and shifting them onto other projects that we need them on, and bringing a full-time CE&I, because we had hoped to do it limited, more along the lines of what you're saying. But given the problems we've continuously run into, we have found that we need to have a full-time person out there to,
And I
lack of a
would
better
say-
term, babysit.
And this is what I'd say. Well, that if we need if our contractors need a babysitter, then we may not need the contractors anymore. But also maybe in the RFP now we start making the contractor share in some of these additional costs.
You bring up a good point, because this is a low bid contract. We did not get to select it because of the way we are required to do bidding.
and we're
Because if
trying
it
to
was
get-
my way, we would not be doing it that way. And that is why we'll look at, on future parks,
How do we change it?
we're gonna look at more the way City Hall went with, guaranteed-
qualifications.
Yeah, qualifications based, ensuring who we're getting out there to manage it, and then we can be much more hands-off. But these low bid contracts, they're gonna cut corners every chance they get to maximize profit, and that'll be at our expense at a later date.
So, and that's good, that's helpful. So we got the low bid contract, but we may have some of these additional expenses that we
Yeah.
have to, when you go that route. That's
Well-
good, that's good enough for me.
Our expense is either gonna be now or later.
Yes,
Yes.
and it may
So-
end up in a lot of lawsuits later too.
And,
is what
and
it'll
then
probably be.
it takes forever.
Yeah.
Because I thought, you know, I don't want it to be checked on, the final work to be checked on. I want it to be checked on while it's being built.
Yeah.
Because I think that that's what we have to do and, to make sure it's done right. But we're spending more money, to make sure that the people we hired are doing their job. It is, I like what you said though. If you had your druthers, you would have done it a different way. We need to look at that. We also need to put that in the contract.
So what we're looking
Make
at
them share
moving
that
forward
cost.
specifically with Parks Project is to do it more of a selection-based process.
We've got to.
Price will be involved, but to ensure that we're not getting these low bid prices of contractors that, you know, they may not be bringing in the best subs. Reeves Young is a great contractor, nothing bad against them, but sometimes they bring in subs that aren't as great as you would want, is what I would tell you.
Yeah.
That's good.
Well, let's do,
And it makes our life a lot harder. So
Right.
Liberty Park, when we do that one, we're hoping to do it a different method and
good, okay.
make it
All right.
much simpler.
Do I have,
Does design build
done, go ahead.
help us in the future if that goes through?
Yes, it will absolutely.
It'll be another tool.
It's another tool.
Anybody, any other comments? All right,
I,
go ahead.
I do have a question, Paul, this might be for you, or Jonathan, either one, but as we're discussing this, and you mentioned the low bid, if we hadn't done low bid and we were doing, based on qualifications, this money, would you think that we would probably level out in the end? I kind of see a head nod.
Yeah, so the initial amount, the initial $1 million for additional like hands on deck, you're still gonna have that even with the other methods of bidding, because you're still gonna have oversight on that project.
Yeah.
This is just additional levels of oversight because it has not gone as well as we had hoped to date.
Where I guess where I'm going with this is if we had gone that direction, then the price would have been similar in what our final outcome is.
Yes,
gonna be.
Reeves Young has directly said, had we done this a different method, that we would have brought in a bigger grading contractor initially, such as a Civil or a Jones Brothers,
Yep.
and we would have paid a lot more. And as staff member, we probably would have said, yeah, it's worth the money.
Yeah.
You get what you pay for.
Get it done
It's
right.
worth the money to get it done right.
Okay.
And on time.
Yeah, and on time.
Thank you.
Right, can we vote? All right, Alderman Potts?
Yes.
Alderman Baggett?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Baggett, Alderman Blanton?
Yes.
All right, moving on to number, passes and chair votes yes. Moving on to number 12, I'm sorry. All right, consideration of draft change order one final with the City of Franklin contract 2025-0232 with Nickel Contracting LLC for the State Route 96 Murfreesboro Road Access Control and Royal Oaks Improvement Project, resulting in a net decrease $144,583.64.
Again, this is just a closeout of that construction contract.
All right,
Motion to approve.
Second with comment
all right, Alderman Potts,
or question, excuse me.
go ahead.
Jonathan, I have a question. We're going to decrease this. It says here $144,583.64. If we were not decreasing, could we have installed the sidewalks and crosswalks to make this pedestrian friendly as we have just right up the street at 96 in McHatcher? Because right now my understanding is that we were not putting that in.
For the cost that we're decreasing, no, you could not have, because you would have touched every one of those commercial driveways. You would have had to do at least minor grading in some spots. So the short answer is no. It would have gone toward, you could have gone towards that, but no, it would not have done it alone.
So is there an option rather than decreasing to design that and to find out what that cost would be before we take this out of the contract?
It would likely be long enough that I would be uncomfortable having the contractor just kind of hold those costs, because we don't even have those costs built into the contract, so that would be something they would have to provide us new costs for anyway. So it would essentially be another change order for them to provide you costs to give us sidewalk costs.
Yeah.
So they may up the number to come with current costs.
Okay. Yeah, the last thing I want to do is stop TDOT when they're have a green light and they want to move this forward right now.
Right.
I'm trying to figure out how difficult is it going to be to come back afterwards and add this in, and how many years down the road it would potentially be.
So whenever something's done at that interchange, you're going to need to do some pretty significant work there to get everything to tie back in, no matter what option is chosen for that interchange, unless they just leave it like it sits. I don't think anybody wants that. But if you widen that, so you're going to have to tie everything back in. So part of that would be, if you did it today, it would be throwaway, and we can't get across the interstate anyway because the interstate doesn't allow for it, the bridge itself on the interstate. So any of those tie-ins would be throwaway.
And so if we're looking at throwaway, just putting years on this, we're in for end of the first quarter of 2026. We're anticipating that this would be done by the end of the year. So
I think we're talking about
We're
different
just two
things.
different projects.
Yeah.
two different projects.
different
But I just want to make sure I'm tying this together. Is this project should be done? Am I saying that right? By the end of the year, or when is this? one?
So this project is for the access management. It's for the median on 96 between the interstate and Royal Oaks.
My mistake. Got it.
I thought we were
I was
cross
on
projects.
South Royal Oaks.
Oh, no, this is
No,
completely
this is
different.
right up-
Completely different.
Right. Okay. Any other comments? All right. Alderman Potts,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Beckett.
Yes.
Alderman Blanton.
Yes.
And Chair votes yes. Moving on to 13, consideration of City of Franklin Contract 2026-0130 with Univar Solutions USA Incorporated for hydrogen peroxide for water treatment process of potable water. Okay.
Sorry, I messed up there.
Mark.
Good afternoon. So this purchase is for hydrogen peroxide at the water treatment plant. We have an advanced oxidation process where you inject ultraviolet light and hydrogen peroxide to essentially kill organics in the water prior to sending it out to the distribution system. The cost is $84,000 and consistent with what we've seen historically. So we're happy to answer any questions if you'd like.
Do you have a motion?
Move for approval.
Second.
All right. Any comments or questions for
Happens all the time.
Mark? Okay. All right. Alderman Potts, how do you vote?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Beckett?
Yes.
Alderman Blanton?
Yes.
And Chair votes yes. Moving on to 14, consideration of draft of Amendment 1, City of Franklin Contract 2025-0086 with Gresham Smith for the water treatment plant hydraulic acid building in the amount of $26,100.
So in early 2025, the board approved a design contract to essentially design a new chemical building out there. The way the chemical building currently sits, it's been there since the beginning of the plant. There is upgrades that we think are important enough for safety of our staff and anyone who visits the site. This change order is specifically to add additional drainage and some other features that they've noticed during the design process. We feel this would additionally add some safety measures out of the plant for the staff.
hydrochloric,
Yep, for the chemical building. Yes.
it's in the building,
Yep.
for that building.
Yes.
Move for approval.
All right.
Second.
Any comments, questions? All right. Alderman Potts?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Beckett?
Yes.
Alderman Blanton?
Yes.
And Chair votes yes. All right, moving on to 15, consideration of City of Contract 2026-0102 with TDOT for sanitation sewer line relocation with City of Franklin, with Franklin Road Bridge over the Harpeth River project.
Yeah, so this is a standard agreement with TDOT for reimbursement of utility relocations. As you'll see in the memo, there's a dollar figure in there for design. That's also reimbursable as well. But this is really not, it's a no-cost contract with TDOT, and it's their standard language in order for us to be reimbursed for portions of the project, so.
All right,
Move for approval.
Second.
any discussion? Alderman Potts, how do you vote?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Beckett?
Yes.
Alderman Blanton?
Yes.
The chair votes yes. All right, number 15.
Thank you.
Consideration of City of Franklin contract 2026-0102 with TDOT for sanitary sewer relocation with Franklin Road Bridge over the Harpeth River project.
We just don't.
We just did that, I'm sorry.
This is
16.
16.
Sorry, 16. I just read that and I went, wait, we just did it. All right, consideration City of Franklin contract 2026-10134 with Civil Link LLC for roadway pavement condition assessment in the amount of $92,000. What is that, Jerry?
Yes, good afternoon.
Yeah.
Jerry Hatcher, Director of Streets. This is a professional services agreement. This is a mechanism that allow us to do a network pavement condition assessment. So what does that mean? It's evaluating all of our pavements on the entire network. In addition, we would evaluate all of our asphalt pavements at all of our facilities as well. This is something we do on a 3-year basis. And so the results that we get back, on the condition of the roadways is going to help us to kind of objectively set that resurfacing schedule, and we usually do that out 2 years. It would also give us an idea of when we could do certain pavement preservation techniques as well, like rejuvenate or like crack fill. So it helps us to optimize those treatments on those locations. So it's a very valuable thing. This would be the 3rd time we've done it. It's a very valuable contract and service. So with that, I'd be glad to take any further questions.
Go ahead.
Move for approval.
Second.
All right, so after you do that, then you set a priority list on that?
Yeah, so what we're doing, we're getting some data back, and so this helps us again to objectively, get results and set that schedule, what needs to be resurfaced based on that condition.
Yeah.
It's
So when you look at that resurfacing schedule, do you also, when you prioritize that, do you also look around the area to see what's going on in case there's any heavy construction in the area? Because if you went in to improve that area and then we had heavy construction around it and they may destroy the road again, do you sort of keep an eye on that as well?
We would, yeah. We want to make sure, we'll set that schedule, but, it can be dynamic depending on if there's some conflicts out there, if there's a construction project, utility work, things like that are ongoing, we may have to delay it or move it back or
Any
move it
kind of
around a little bit.
disruptions or construction,
That's right.
good,
But
yeah.
it gets a good place to start,
Yeah.
going through
Okay,
this
good.
process.
I want to make sure we're looking at that as well.
That's right.
All right, do I have a motion?
Sure, I'll move to approve.
Oh, I'm sorry, we have it.
Good.
Any other discussion?
None.
All right, let's move to vote. Alderman Potts?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Baggett?
Yes.
And Alderman Blanton?
Yes.
And Chair votes yes. All righty. We have a capital projects dashboard and status update. Jonathan, do you want to touch on some of those? and then
Don't have
we'll
a
take any
whole lot to
questions
offer.
from
I will
the-
say that Liberty Park, the ridge replacement for that side of the park that goes across to the disc golf and the dog park, that's out for bid right now. We'll open those bids, I believe it's April 10th. We've had pretty good interest in that so far, it looks like. So
Right.
that's out there advertised right now. Talked to my project manager that's out there on the lake to stream restoration out there at Liberty Hills. I'm not as involved with the stream restoration as our environmental folks are, but with the bridge on Liberty Hills, I know that's a hot topic. They have poured the top on that bridge, and they're backfilling now. So as soon as we get to a point where we can put down pavement and get that back open safely, we will do so.
What's the estimate? Do you think a month?
Yeah, I would say sometime probably, I've heard some dates thrown around, but I'll say probably later April, likely, so about a month.
Yeah, all right. Okay.
But we can definitely open that up at least under temporary asphalt if we need to before the rest of the project is done.
Yeah, that's good. That's a tough one. Yep. Alderman Potts?
Thank you. Jonathan, quick question. As I'm looking at the map here, I'm reminded I received some calls on the sidewalk project on Lewisburg Pike. Could you just give an overview of where we are on that and what the timeline is looking like?
So we are waiting on the final sign-offs on easements from CSX for them to agree to us to buy an easement across the railroad tracks to put a sidewalk in. That's kind of the last remaining piece. And if it was something smaller than that, we could probably go to bid without having that. But with it being a major component of the project, we don't want to go to bid without having that a known that we're already done and can legally go across their right of way. Paul's been working with them on a pretty much daily basis as needed. So whenever they sign off, then we'll be able to go advertise for bids for construction.
Okay. And would you remind everybody who might be watching how far down Liberty Park, or Liberty Pike, where it's going to start? Excuse me, not Liberty Pike, Lewisburg Pike. Too many pikes today. Where it's going to start and where it's going to conclude with this phase.
So where the sidewalk stops now, about a half a block north of Stewart, it'll connect to that sidewalk and work its way down, actually on both sides of the street from that point down, cross the railroad tracks, and it will go down to just past Collins Farm. There's the entrance to Husky Lumber and all that kind of stuff back there. That's where the project stops for now. So there'll be connectivity down to Thompson Alley on the northeast side, and then Collins Farm on the south side.
Okay. And so you'll stop before you hit the Husky driveway?
Correct. We'll stop at that driveway.
At that driveway. And then can you give just a ballpark on when that next phase is scheduled and what that looks like?
We have a very preliminary set of plans for kind of the whole length, so we generally know where it's going. It's not a full set of plans. We only have a full set of plans for that first segment that we're going to bid out.
Okay.
The plan was to get the plans far enough along, which they're close now, to be in a good position to, in the future, get money through the GNRC or through TDOT, through one of their alternative modes of transportation funds like TAP or multimodal fund through TDOT. That's kind of where we're at for those. So there's really not a date set yet unless the board chooses to fund those.
Okay. And those next phases would actually take it down to the entrances for Eastern Flank?
The first, so we'd probably break that up into two projects, depending on how it's funded. The first phase would pick it up there at the Husky Lumber Drive, take it all the way down to Eastern Flank, through the full length of Eastern Flank as a trail because from Husky Lumber down it would be a full trail,
Okay.
and then in the future from Eastern Flank all the way down to Mac Hatcher.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Is there any update on the Macatcher Hillsborough Road improvements?
No major update. We're still shooting for this summer to bid. It's not a very large project, so hopefully we can get it done before November and paving season ends.
Oh, so I didn't realize it was that quick. So I thought that was getting kicked back a little bit further. Or maybe
Macatcher and Hillsborough? Did I miss
the
you?
bridge.
Yes, right there at the bridge,
Yeah, that's
Brownland
what
Farms.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, we should be able to
Okay.
get it out to construction this summer and open by November is what we're shooting for.
There's no
If-
changes to the bridge.
If we miss that November deadline of paving
It'll be in
season,
the
then it goes into the springtime. But
Okay.
we know the queue is so bad that we're pushing as hard as we can.
No, thank you.
There's no right of way, no utility, so it's
I
fairly
don't know.
straightforward.
I thought for some reason maybe I misunderstood. Maybe that this would have been, it was going to be pushed into next year, but no, doesn't sound like it.
I'm trying my hardest
Hey,
not
that's a
to. Yes.
great mistake, Patrick.
Yes.
Need more of those.
Jeez. Anything else? All right. Motion to adjourn? Anybody?
Motion to adjourn?
Second, anybody? I'll second it.
Second.
All right, we're adjourned.
Those in favor?
All right.